Okay, let's just dive right in. If you're sitting in a C-suite office right now, especially in manufacturing or the industrial sector, your inbox must look like a complete war zone.
Oh, absolutely.
You've got consultants pitching you on standard SEO, which, you get that. But now they're throwing in AEO, GEO, and I mean, honestly, it's starting to look like a bowl of alphabet soup that costs a small fortune.
It is. It's totally overwhelming. And frankly, I think it's confusing by design.
Yeah.
The subtext in all those emails is always the same, isn't it? It's if you don't know this new acronym, you're about to go obsolete.
That's the hook. It's fear.
Yeah.
I was reading through the source material for this, and we should say right up front, this comes directly from the Google search team and their liaisons, and they even made a joke about it. They suggested we might as well just call it LNOPO.
LNOPO. What's that?
Yeah, just mash the keyboard. Throw some letters together, because the acronyms are multiplying faster than any executive could possibly track.
That joke is actually a really important signal. When the people building the search engines are mocking the acronyms, that tells you something, right? It tells you about the huge disconnect between the engineers at Google and the consultants who are selling you services. It really highlights that anxiety. I mean, you've got a factory to run, you're making physical products, and now you're being told search engine optimization isn't enough. Now you have to optimize for answer engines.
Right, and generative engines and chatbots. I feel like the goalposts haven't just moved, they've been teleported to a completely different stadium. The dilemma for you, our listener, is pretty stark. Do I have to overhaul my entire digital strategy just because ChatGPT is a thing now?
Do I fire my marketing team and hire a bunch of prompt engineers?
Exactly.
And that's what we really need to unpack today. Our whole mission here is to cut through that noise. We've gone through transcripts from the people who actually build Google search, and the picture they paint is, well, it's surprisingly different from what all those fear-mongering sales pitches look like.
So if we look at the core thesis then, the North Star that emerged from these documents, what are we looking at? Because usually when technology shifts this fast, the old rules just go out the window.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But the core thesis here is actually very reassuring. It's almost counterintuitive. The North Star for Google, and really for any AI system that's retrieving information, it hasn't actually changed.
Okay.
If you are chasing a specific algorithm or you're trying to trick a large language model, you are already losing. The focus has to be on satisfying human curiosity, not feeding a machine.
Satisfy human curiosity. That sounds nice on a bumper sticker, but let's get into the weeds of what that means for an actual strategy. Let's start with this whole acronym trap. You mentioned AEO, Answer Engine Optimization, and GEO. Is there any technical validity to these new terms?
Technically, very, very little. The reality, according to Google's own search liaison, Danny Sullivan, is that these are distinctions without a real difference. He explicitly says that things like AEO and GEO, they're just subsets of SEO. It's all just search engine optimization.
But isn't the behavior different? I mean, if I ask Alexa a question versus typing something into Google, isn't the machine looking for something different?
The delivery mechanism is different, sure, but the intent is the same. Whether a user gets their answer from a voice assistant or a chatbot summary or a classic blue link, they are seeking information. And Sullivan makes a great point here. If you start building a siloed strategy for AEO and a totally different one for GEO, you're just fracturing your resources.
You're optimizing for the container, not the content.
Exactly. You said it perfectly. You're optimizing for the container. If you're optimizing for people, actually answering their questions clearly and with authority, you're naturally optimizing for all these formats. The vehicle changes, but the fuel is still high-quality, relevant content.
Speaking of fuel, there is a very specific and I'd say dangerous myth circulating right now that we need to bust. I have seen this on LinkedIn a dozen times, and I know our listeners have too. The advice is, AI models like short, punchy text. You need to chop up your content into bite-sized chunks so the LLM can digest it.
Ugh, this one. This is where it gets really interesting, and you can almost feel the frustration in the transcripts from the Google engineers. We have it on record. Google engineers do not want you to do this. They explicitly say, we don't want you to do that.
But why not? I mean, it sounds logical. If I'm feeding a robot, shouldn't I cut the food into small pieces?
That assumes the robot has a small throat. But these models, they thrive on context. If you start crafting two different versions of your site, one rich, detailed version for humans and one chopped up, bite-sized version for AI, you're optimizing for a system quirk that might exist today.
And be gone tomorrow.
And be gone tomorrow. Exactly. You're assuming you know how the black box works. Maybe right now an LLM prefers a summary, But what happens when the models get smarter? Which they do, literally every week. And they start prioritizing deep, nuanced, long-form context to reduce hallucinations.
Then all that work is wasted.
All that work is wasted. If you spend your whole budget turning technical manuals into a series of tweets, you've optimized for a fleeting technical limitation, not for the end user.
And for a manufacturer, that deep context is usually where the real value is. If you strip away the nuance of why a machine works a certain way, you're just left with a spec sheet.
And that brings us to maybe the most critical concept for anyone listening in manufacturing. It's the difference between what we'll call commodity content and originality. The sources use this fantastic analogy about the Super Bowl to explain it.
Oh, I loved this part. It's so simple, but it lands perfectly. So walk us through the Super Bowl problem.
Okay, so every year, millions of people search for the exact same thing. What time is the Super Bowl? It's a factual, an immutable question.
Right. And for years, websites would write these long, winding articles, the history of time, the history of the pigskin, the atmospheric pressure in the stadium, all just to eventually tell you.
It starts at 6:30 p.m. because they wanted to keep you on the page to show you ads. They held the fact hostage. But now, Google or an AI chatbot just tells you 6:30 p.m. That is commodity information. It can be scraped, summarized, and delivered instantly, and no one ever has to click on your website.
So if your business model was telling people what time the game starts, you're out of business.
You're invisible.
Yeah.
Now let's apply that to manufacturing. Look at your website. Are you just posting spec sheets? This pump runs at 500 RPM. It weighs 2 tons. It is made of steel. That is commodity content. And AI can scrape that, put it in a table, and the user never needs to visit your site.
That is a massive wake-up call, because I would bet 90% of industrial websites are just digital catalogs of specs. So if spec sheets are the Super Bowl start time, what's the alternative? What can't the AI scrape?
The human element. That's the alternative. The source material mentions that while an AI can tell you the game starts at 6:30, it can't authentically explain why a football is shaped like an oval, or tell a personal story about a specific game from a fan's perspective. It can't tell you what the locker room smelled like at halftime.
So for a manufacturer, that translates to...
It means moving beyond the what and into the how and the why. An AI can't replicate the authentic voice of your chief engineer explaining some nightmare installation they ran into and how they solved it. It can't fake a case study about a specific client problem that required a custom modification.
It's about those first-hand perspectives.
That's the exact term the Google team uses. First-hand knowledge. If you're a manufacturer, you have deep expertise that isn't just a list of data points. You have stories of engineering challenges. You have the history of why a part is designed a certain way. That is your defense. Originality is the only defense against becoming commodity content that gets summarized into oblivion.
That's a huge shift in mindset. It's moving from here is our catalog to here is our experience.
And experience creates trust. An LLM can give you a list of specs, but it can't build the trust that comes from a senior engineer saying, look, we tried it that way, here's why it failed, and here's what we do instead. That's what gets the click in an AI WOD.
This leads me right to how we measure success. Because executives love metrics, we love our dashboards, but the sources talk about the danger of what they call the perfect page fallacy. I think we've all fallen for this at some point.
Oh, absolutely. It's the desire for a magic formula. Historically, you've had these tools, and they still exist, charging thousands a month, that scan the top results and say, okay, the average headline on page 1 is 57 words long. Therefore, your headline must be 57 words.
Your content is 800 words, but the average is 1,200. Write more.
It's just absurd when you really break it down. The average exists because every page is unique, not because they all followed some template. The source explicitly says the exception is the rule. If you just regress to the average, you're just creating more gray noise. You're not standing out. You're literally asking to be average.
And there's also this obsession with domain authority or spam scores. I've been in meetings where executives ask, why is our domain score 52? Our competitor is a 59. Fix it. And the marketing team just scrambles for 6 months to move a made-up number.
This is a huge pet peeve for the Google team, and they were really blunt about it. We need to be crystal clear for everyone listening. Google does not have a domain score. They do not have a spam score in the way these third-party tools present it.
Wait, really? Because those numbers look very official on the monthly reports.
They are completely made-up metrics by software companies. They're guessing at how Google works. Now, they might be directionally useful sometimes, maybe. But optimizing your business strategy to move a fake number from 52 to 59 is gamification. It's not a business strategy.
You're playing a video game, not running a marketing strategy.
Exactly. And while you're spending 6 months trying to game a score that Google doesn't even look at, you're ignoring the actual user who's just trying to figure out if your machine can handle their production line. You're optimizing for a tool, not a customer.
Let's shift gears to something that sounds a bit sci-fi, but is actually here right now. Multimodal search. This feels like the biggest technical leap we've discussed so far.
It really is. We used to think of search as just a text box, right? You type words, you get words back.
Right.
But multimodal means searching with video, images, and text all at the same time. It changes the input method entirely.
And the source told that story about the geese to explain this, didn't it?
Yes, from Danny Sullivan. He's walking around, sees some geese acting weirdly on the ground. Now, normally, to search this, you'd have to figure out how to describe it. Brown bird, long neck, poking ground, weird behavior.
And you just hope you describe it well enough for the engine to figure it out.
Right. But instead, he just films a quick video and asks Google, what are they doing? The search engine watched the video, identified the birds, analyzed their behavior, and answered, they're eating grass.
Okay, that's cool for a bird watcher, but why should a manufacturing exec care about geese eating grass?
Because your customers are doing the exact same thing. Imagine a technician out in the field. They're looking at a broken component on a conveyor belt. They don't know the part number. They might not even know the name of the assembly.
So they just take a picture.
They take a picture or a video and they ask, how do I fix this? Or where can I buy a replacement for this? If your content is only text, you are invisible to that search. But if you have images, diagrams, video tutorials that match that visual query, suddenly you're the answer.
Which brings that first-hand perspective right back into play. If you have a video of your engineer fixing that exact part, the AI can connect the technician's video query to your solution video.
Precisely. And this leads to another concept called query fan-out. It sounds super technical, but it's maybe the most important architectural change in how search works now.
Fan out. Okay, break that down for me.
So when a user asks a complex question to an AI like, what's the best way to retrofit this specific engine for high-altitude performance? That's a really multi-layered question. In the old days, Google would just look for a single page that contained all those exact words.
And if no one wrote that exact sentence, you got bad results.
You got bad results. But now the AI fans out. It breaks the question down into its component parts. It secretly runs multiple background searches. So it might search for high-altitude engine specs and retrofit kits for Model X and common problems with high-altitude performance. It gathers all those pieces to construct the answer.
So it's almost like it's doing your research for you.
It is. But here's the strategic insight for you. You don't need to write one perfect page that answers that mega question. You just need to be the absolute best answer for one of those component parts.
That is surprisingly reassuring.
It should be. If you have the best data on retrofit kits, the AI will find that and pull your information into its synthesized answer. You don't need to optimize for the final AI output. You need to optimize for being the authority on your specific piece of the puzzle.
So with all this complexity, or at least perceived complexity, the question comes up, do I hire someone? The listener's dilemma often ends with, can I just pay someone to make this headache go away?
The John's plumber analogy from the source material is perfect for this. John Mueller from Google says, look, you can pull your own network cables, you can fix your own pipes, but sometimes it's a much better use of your time to hire a pro so you can focus on your actual business.
But there's a big warning label attached to that. We've all been burned by agencies promising the moon.
A huge one. You need enough foundational knowledge to spot a scam. And in the AI era, the scams are getting very sophisticated.
So what are the red flags we should be looking for now?
You have to be very wary of anyone promising a secret backdoor to Google rankings, or anyone who claims Google says X but can't show you the documentation.
I know how the algorithm works because I have a secret contact.
Run away.
No.
Google's guidance is public. If an agency claims Google mandates something, ask them to show you the URL on Google Search Central. Often, what they're selling is their interpretation, or a straight-up guess disguised as a fact.
That stability is key too, right?
Yes. A normal business like John's Plumber shouldn't need to spin up a new website every week because a tech trend changed. If an agency is telling you to constantly churn domains or use burner sites to test out AI tricks, that's not a sustainable business strategy. That's a gamble.
It's just churn and burn. So we've covered the acronyms, the content, the metrics, the hiring. As we wrap this up, there was a metaphor in the transcripts about a train that I thought was really profound.
It's a great visual. Think of all these changes in search AI voice, multimodal, as a moving train. A lot of executives feel like they're running alongside the train, trying to jump on, or worse, they're trying to fix the engine while it's moving.
I need to optimize the train engine.
Exactly. But the advice from the search team is, you're a passenger. Or rather, your content is the cargo. You shouldn't try to optimize the train engine or the tracks. You should focus on making your cargo, your content, so valuable that the train wants to carry it.
That simplifies it so much. If your cargo is gold, the train will take it. If your cargo is garbage, it doesn't matter how fast the train is.
Focus on your customers, the passengers. If your content serves them, the train, be it Google, AI, whatever comes next, will align its systems to deliver that value. They need good cargo to stay in business.
So what does this all mean for the bottom line? We promised a final provocative thought. The sources suggest we need to rethink clicks. And I think for a lot of people, that sounds like admitting defeat.
This is the hard pill to swallow, for sure. In an AI world, you're probably going to get fewer visits to your website.
And that sounds like failure to most marketing VPs. Traffic is down 20%. We're firing the agency.
It does on the surface. But think about it. If the AI is answering all the commodity questions, the Super Bowl start times or the basic machine specs, then the people who would have bounced immediately are gone. Wow. You lose the tire kickers.
Okay, so the traffic volume drops, but who is left?
The people who do click through, they've already had their basic questions answered. They're looking for that firsthand perspective. They're looking for the deep dive. They are much deeper in the funnel and way more engaged.
So the volume goes down, but the quality goes way up.
Exactly. And the question I would leave every listener with is this. Are your internal metrics ready to value quality over quantity? If your monthly report is solely based on traffic volume, you might panic when you see a drop, even if your actual sales conversions are going up. You need to prepare your board and your team for a world where clicks matter less and conversions or engagement matter so much more.
That is a tough conversation to have, but a necessary one. It's about value, not vanity metrics.
It's the only way to survive the shift. Stop counting eyeballs and start counting engagement.
Well, that's a lot to digest, but hopefully that alphabet soup tastes a little better now. Less fear, more focus on what you do best, being the expert in your field.
Originality, authenticity, and serving the human. That's the whole strategy.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.